Good evening. Whoa. Sorry, that's my dad voice. How are you all doing tonight? Good? All right, cool. Becky Guffin, president of the League of Women Voters of Porter County, is going to go ahead and take the microphone for a quick opening statement.
Thank you, Tom. First of all, I want to say welcome to everyone. It's so exciting to see everybody here and willing to participate in the local process. That's very important to us. The League of Women Voters, in case you may not know too much about it, is the purpose of the League is to promote political responsibility through informed and active participation in government and to act on selected governmental issues. The League shall not support or oppose any political party or any candidate. We speak for the voters, not a party, and we are committed to doing what we were founded to do, stand up for what is right and support legislation that advances voting rights. Throughout the evening, throughout the debate, as you all probably figured out, the questions are being submitted to the candidate in written form, actually to Tom, and then he's asking the questions. So we have two high school volunteers who wanted to be with us tonight, Samantha Edwards and Reagan Smedley, and they will be circulating as well as a few League volunteers. So if this starts and you go, wow, I really do have a question, just raise your hand and they will bring you a pen and an index card, and then when you're ready, you can lift it up and then they will collect them and bring them to the screeners who will then pass it on to Tom. So if you have questions, that's the way we're handling it, and please feel free to do that. And thank you again for coming.
My name is Rex Richards. I'm president of the Valparaiso Chamber, and thank you. We have a great crowd tonight. Really appreciate your interest in our top elected official position. Our two individuals here are really good people, and we appreciate you coming out and being a part of this. I did want to say that the Valparaiso Chamber, we did a podcast in which I asked both candidates 10 questions, and they answered the questions. It's on Facebook, and I would suggest that you all go to that, and you can hear a podcast on how both candidates are answering questions about running the city of Valparaiso, Indiana. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for joining us tonight at the Valparaiso Memorial Opera House for tonight's Valparaiso mayoral debate. Tonight's debate will include former mayor and current school board member John Costas, who is the Republican nominee, and Hannah Trueblood, the Democratic nominee. Tonight, we'll discuss a variety of topics and how they might not only impact the next 4 years for the city of Valparaiso, but ultimately how they'll impact the residents of Valparaiso. The winner of this debate, or this race rather, will take over as mayor of Valparaiso, as outgoing mayor Matt Murphy will step down. Early voting begins October 23rd and continues until November 6th. If you need to register to vote, members of the League of Women Voters of Porter County can assist you tonight. Tonight's debate is made possible by the League of Women Voters of Porter County, the Valparaiso Memorial Opera House, the Valparaiso Chamber of Commerce, and Lakeshore Public Media 89.1 FM. I'm Tom Maloney, tonight's moderator. This debate is being streamed live tonight on Facebook and will be broadcast on Tuesday, October 10th at 7 p.m. on Lakeshore Public Media 89.1 FM. There will also be a repeat broadcast on Tuesday, November 7th, Election Day. You can tune in to find out how this race fares, along with dozens more across Porter, Lake, and LaPorte counties on election night beginning at 7 o'clock on Lakeshore Public Media. For tonight's debate, we encourage the audience to ask questions. Tonight's questions will come from myself as well as from all of you, members of the audience. There are note cards that you can fill out. Hold your hand up and the volunteers will track you down to go ahead and get those cards to you. We'll do our best to get to all of those questions, and there's already a stack of questions. We're going to do our best to keep this debate in an hour because we want to get you all home. It's a school night, right? It's a work night. So we'll go ahead and get those questions. I ask that you all hold your applause until the end of the debate following the closing statements from each candidate, but you can applaud me at any time. The rules for tonight's debate, thank you, are as follows. Candidates have 60 seconds for their opening and closing remarks. Each candidate will also have 60 seconds to answer each question during the debate. Rebuttals are not permitted, but candidates can use their time to answer a rebuttal from a previous question. There is no saving of time, therefore, candidate does not use all 60 seconds. That time is not permitted to be used by the candidate again. Before tonight's debate, I flipped a coin to decide who would go first with their opening statement and who would go first for their closing statement. With that, John Costas has 60 seconds for his opening statement, followed by Hannah Trueblood. Hannah will then answer the first question first. John, you have 60 seconds for your opening statement.
Thank you, Tom. I'd like to thank the Chamber, the League of Women Voters, and everyone here for coming tonight. Friends, there are two things that we all can agree on tonight. First, we love our city and we want it to flourish. Second, leadership matters when it comes to running cities. As we look back on the last 20 years of local Republican leadership, it's hard to argue that a wonderful transformation has occurred. Back then, the downtown was on life support. The roads were in bad shape. Our police headquarters was outdated. There was no V-line, no Chicago Dash, few pathways, no rainy day fun, and can you believe it, not a single roundabout. But the Valparaiso we enjoy today is a tale of a different city, vibrant, beautiful, safe, and sustainable. While we can celebrate this 20-year transformation, this election is not about the past, but it's about the future. So 2 weeks ago, I released the Costas Plan 2.0, which clearly outlines my priorities. If reelected, I will accomplish this plan just as I did in 2004. Once again, I'll bring leadership and the roadmap to keep our city strong and safe.
All right, John, we'll wrap you there. I'm a little lenient on the bell, but the bell tolls for really both of you. Hannah, you have 60 seconds for your opening statement.
Great. Thank you, everybody, for attending this evening, and for the League of Women Voters, for the Chamber, and for Lakeshore Public Media, and for John for agreeing to do this evening. And my name is Hannah Trueblood, and I'm running to be your next mayor of Valparaiso. Now, I could spend these 60 seconds giving you a bunch of lip service and talking about all the things that I think you want to hear, but tonight I am just going to be open, honest, transparent, and share the message that I have learned in listening to all the constituents this year. And that is exactly how I intend to lead as mayor of Valparaiso. Thank you.
Thank you. Hannah, you'll be answering the first question first. Through the last few years, we've seen and heard many politicians across the country deny the results of their local elections. Will you accept the results of this election as decided on by Valparaiso voters?
Yes.
John, please hold your applause. Hold your applause. John.
So I've worked elections my whole life. I think, from my experience, we have an excellent system and delivers accurate results. And so, of course, I will too.
Thank you. John, you'll be answering the next question. If elected mayor, what is your strategic plan?
Well, as I said 2 weeks ago, I released the Costas Plan 2.0. It's really important for leaders to be very clear about what they want to accomplish and what their priorities are. And so that plan, you can get it on my website, johncostas.com, is a 6-page plan that focuses on 10 priorities for the city. And those are the priorities that I'll focus on. It also has a number of specifics in terms of things that I want to accomplish. But the mayor needs to, first of all, complete the transformational projects that are happening in the city now, bring them in on budget and on time. So that's the first priority from day one, and then focusing on my strategic plan from then on.
Hannah, 60 seconds.
Thank you. So the strategic plan is arguably the most important piece of this whole situation. And with that, I would say that when I'm first elected, the number one thing that I'll be doing to enact that is to engage with the residents and learn what is it that you need. And in addition to that, we're also going to take a look at what is already going on, the things that we know are problematic that we need to work on, such as our infrastructure, things like prioritizing our streets and our sidewalks, like John has said, has already been worked on, but we've got a lot of work. Anybody that is walking on any of these sidewalks may see that we've got a lot of problems that need to be addressed. And in addition to this, the strategic plan is going to be about engaging the community in the decisions. We're going to be looking at expanding on our advisory boards so that we feel that we are actually represented in our government's decisions. Thank you.
You got in under the bell. Nice job. All right, Hannah, you'll be answering this next question first.
Great.
The parking garage. Okay, all right. One audience member wants to know, please explain why city taxes are being used for a private parking garage. You have 60 seconds.
Well, I can't really explain why they're being used because I wasn't involved in that decision-making process, unfortunately. However, from what I understand, they're using public tax dollars to fund this parking garage to help with the parking problem that is perceived in downtown. What I will say about the parking garage is that, unfortunately, it's a done deal. We see it just a couple blocks away. It's going up whether we want it or not. And moving forward, what we need to make sure that we're doing is that when we see problems that are presented to us, like a perceived parking problem, that we bring solutions that are actually going to benefit the masses. And when you look at the math, and when you look at the parking spaces that are going to be allocated to the luxury Linc development right across the street, you will see that the parking problem is not going to be solved by this multi-million-dollar parking garage, and in fact is going to likely produce some traffic problems that we have not yet experienced. Thank you.
Thank you. John, you have
Thank
60
you, Tom.
seconds.
Well, I can say this, 20 years ago we didn't have a parking problem in downtown because it was dead. Thank goodness we have a parking problem, and the Linc is a great project, and we're going to add 362 total spaces. 241 of those spaces will be used for citizen parking during the day and 162 at night on the lower levels, so it is adding parking. And the Linc is a transformational project. You know, change is part of life, and the downtown has to evolve. High-density housing was always part of our plan, because high-density housing creates sustainability, it creates tax dollars, it creates safety in and around the downtown. So I think it's going to be a real positive thing for the downtown, and look forward to the parking garage adding more parking for citizens as well as those who are living here in the Linc.
Thank you. John, you'll be answering first on this audience question. A follow-up to the question, or rather a follow-up to the answer. What do you think is the reason why so many people want to move to the city of Valparaiso?
Well, there's a lot of reasons for that. Great schools, a great downtown. It's affordable here compared to many communities. The people are awesome. We have a strong nonprofit sector. We have a strong business sector. It's just the Vale of Paradise. And so that's why we are growing. Now, we're growing at a good rate, about 1% a year, which is a sustainable rate. And so what we need to do is make sure that growth positively impacts our quality of life and that we maintain our small city character. And so Valparaiso will continue to grow, and I think that's a good thing, but effective planning, so we're building strong neighborhoods, we're keeping the downtown strong, but we're improving sidewalks, pathways all around the city, keeping our parks strong, and it's a city we can all be proud of and call home.
Thank you. Hannah, 60 seconds.
Well, being in real estate, I deal on a daily basis with and understand with why people want to live here, but I also understand on the other side of the coin why people leave. Now, I live here and I'm raising my family here because it's true. We have safe schools. We've got low crime. We've got lots of parks and recreation, and there's no problems, right? No. We've got to be honest about the fact that with positive things, there's always going to be a negative. And as mayor, you need to be somebody who's willing to actually address those problems and admit that we have a problem in order to come up with the solutions necessary to fix those problems. And I'm sure we'll discuss that in later questions, but why people want to live here is exactly for that reason. And one of the main reasons why people leave is because of how unaffordable it's becoming.
Thank you. Answering first on this next question, sorry, I've got a pile of note cards here, will be Hannah. This question comes from audience members actually via our Google form. It's not uncommon for elected or appointed officials in Valparaiso to have business interests in the city. Even if not legally required, how important is it for the mayor and city council to disclose their financial interests and family relationships that may be impacted by matters that come before the council and mayoral office?
It's a great question. First, I will say on record that I have absolutely no financial vested interest in any of the goings-ons in the city and will not have any during my tenure as mayor. Now, in addition to that, like Tom said, it's not legally required. However, we're not going to be doing just the bare minimum here to stay out of jail. What we need to be doing is a service to the public, and they deserve to know exactly who is involved and how they are involved and why they're being chosen or why they're being utilized in different situations. You know, we are facing a lot of public scrutiny right now for a lawsuit that includes alleged nepotism, and there are other very open times where you can see that there's a avid conflict of interest in the goings-ons. It's impossible to lead a city in this position with the amount of financial interest.
That's the bell.
Thank you.
John,
Thank
60
you.
seconds.
So our family's been small business owners in this community for over 50 years, and I'm proud of that. And it helps me understand the needs of the community well. First of all, there is full disclosure. We're required to disclose all of our business interests. The conflict of interest laws in the state are very severe. But the bottom line is this: for 16 years, when I was mayor, I fostered a culture of integrity in the city. And that integrity, that culture of integrity remains, and that's what's really most important. And so yeah, I think it's great that I'm invested in the city. I've led organizations in every sector, whether it be large organizations, whether it be education, nonprofit, business, and the faith community, and so I bring a wide experience of understanding through all those experiences.
Thank you, John. You'll be answering first on this next question. A couple of individuals have asked about housing affordability for the city of Valparaiso. Median household income in Valparaiso stands at nearly $57,000 annually. The average annual household income stands at $80,000 annually. In one of the most affluent cities in Northwest Indiana, especially in Porter County, how will you as mayor work to bring in more affordable housing for Valparaiso residents?
Yeah, so housing the cost of housing is an issue. I have a son that just moved from the East Coast. He moved here last week. For him, it's very affordable because what he had to pay out on the East Coast is a whole lot more for what you get. I have a daughter that lives in California. 16% of the people in California can afford to buy a home. So while it's escalated, it's certainly much more affordable here than even many of our neighbors. Now, that being said, we need to, I guess there's two things that I think we can do with the city. There's the law of supply and demand. We need to add more housing units at all strata. That's important because people are moving here and they're driving up the price of housing. And for some people, that's a good thing, but it's not for those in entry level. That's the first thing. The second thing we need to do is try to avoid any unnecessary regulation that adds an unnecessary cost to housing. And so those are the two things that I think we can do to keep the price of housing affordable in the city.
Thank you. Hannah, 60 seconds.
Being in real estate, this is kind of my question. I think it's first very important to note the fact that although maybe we are a little bit more affordable than other areas of the country, but we're in Indiana, and we need to be looking at the Indiana market when we're considering these factors because we have Indiana wages. Now, the average home in Valpo is $330,000, and the average household income is $56,000, and something about that doesn't add up. So a few things that we can do to make things more reasonably priced in Valparaiso is by incentivizing our developers to build reasonably priced housing. We don't need any more luxury homes. We need affordable homes. And we're not talking about Section 8 housing. We're talking about housing for our teachers, for our police officers, and for our firefighters. And when we're talking about supporting a local economy, all of this comes in together with that. And when our police officers and our firefighters and our teachers live where they work, and when our service workers that make Valparaiso so great live here, it's
That's
better.
the bell. Hannah, you'll be answering first on this question. coming from the audience. The opioid problem in Lake County, or excuse me, Porter County, I apologize, I'm a Lake County resident. Don't hold it against me. It's still very high. What are your plans on combating it?
Well, the first thing is definitely admitting that we have a problem. And the second thing is talking about it, being open about it. This is something that affects so many people. I personally have been affected. I have family and friends that have been personally affected by opioids. And the problem is going to continue to grow. And the first thing that we can do to solve this problem is by ending the stigma around it. And when you have a leader who has been working in community advocacy for 20 years to end domestic violence and to end the opioid epidemic and dealing with people and actually going out in the community and talking to the people who are directly affected and involved in these situations, that is how we're going to solve that problem, is by talking to the people that it affects and by involving them in the conversation instead of making assumptions about what we think they may need, which is an unfortunate reality. When we had that opioid panel, there wasn't a single person there that was on that panel that was suffering from addiction.
Thank you. John, you have 60 seconds.
And it's certainly a difficult problem to solve. One thing that makes Valparaiso so great is the strong nonprofit sector we have. I mean, it really impacts our society in a positive way. We have 2 respite houses here that deal specifically with addiction, and I think they do a great job. But we have many other supportive services, and of course it's about families helping loved ones that are struggling with this too. I know Mayor Murphy, we've hired a social worker in the police department. I think that's real positive. And recently, the city council used some of the ARPA funds to hire a person that can be sort of a one-stop clearinghouse when a family has an issue. They can get answers and know where they can get help within our community. So it's all those things and everybody working together to take on some of these tough social issues like that.
Thank you. John, you'll be answering first on this next question, again coming from the Google form. With 5 new liquor licenses being handed out, along with a multi-million-dollar distillery opening up in downtown, how will Valparaiso prepare to become an alcohol tourist destination?
Well, Journeyman is certainly, well, first of all, it's a regional draw. We've worked with the Welter family, and they're transformed a decrepit old wiper blade factory into a fantastic regional draw for the city. They've invested, I think, 40 to 45 million, and that'll draw people from a long ways away. The downtown is certainly a unique downtown, and it draws many visitors from a wide range of our area, and so that's why we have to have the tools to keep the downtown vibrant. Those liquor licenses are really used for restaurants. We don't use them for bars, and restaurants that bring a unique flair, and that's just part of the dining experience. And so we'll use those carefully, of course, in order to further our goals in the downtown and to make it really the downtown dining destination here in certainly Porter County and beyond.
Thank you. Hannah, you have 60 seconds.
You know, alcohol has been deeply entrenched in our society, and it's a growing problem. It's a dangerous problem, how normalized it is. I mean, it's a problem. It's strange. And, you know, with liquor licenses, of course, our restaurants, that's a way that they attract people to come into their establishments and spend money, and alcohol is a big moneymaker, of course. But I think the important thing that we need to consider is that there are other things to do in this city besides drink. And an important aspect of this position is being able to work with small business owners that exist, or hopeful small business owners, to come up with ideas for successful businesses that we can utilize that's going to attract different things, so that we're not just all drinking and then getting in our cars and driving home.
Thank you. Hannah, you'll be answering first on this question from the audience. The city is a business. What size budgets have you had the history of managing?
It's a great question. So being in real estate, I deal with millions of dollars in contracts, maybe not all at once, but cumulatively. And when you're looking at dealing with contracts and budgets and negotiations, the difference between a $50 million budget and a $5 million budget is a zero. It's the same application. And the fact of the matter is that the mayor is the one that oversees the whole ordeal. And in real estate, I oversee the whole transaction and multiple transactions at that. Right now, I've got multiple things moving around. We've got lots of different people that you're dealing with, appraisers and inspectors and lenders and other agents and buyers and sellers, and there's so much going on. And being able to make that connection and get everything together and to the finish line all at staggering times is what I do for a living, and that's exactly the skill set required for this position as mayor.
Thank you. Keep the stop sign down. I see you. John, you have 60 seconds.
Well, the city is a $75 million a year operation that employs 240 people. I've been responsible for making payrolls for the last 45 years. I served for 14 years in the Higher Education Commission, which oversees the budgets for all the state-owned universities. Obviously I ran the city for 16 years in a very economically responsible manner. We created a rainy day fund that was non-existent until we took over. But the most important thing a leader does is to create a positive culture for the city, because a positive culture will attract the best and brightest to work for the city and to flourish. And so that's the thing that I think I'm most talented at, is seeing the big picture, running large organizations, but creating this really positive, empowering culture that attracts people and that encourages people to be their best. And that's I think what sets me apart in this race.
Thank you. Was that for me or him? John, you'll be answering first on this next question from the audience. Valparaiso residents and visitors alike are impacted by the decisions and actions of a mayor's unelected administrative team. As mayor, what will be your strategy for selecting competent, ethical, and experienced people to serve the public in your administration?
Well, that kind of ties in with what I was talking about. It's really about example. It's about creating the positive culture that attracts those kind of people. And we've always built our leadership around values. We have 5 leadership values: surprisingly responsive, boldly proactive, respectfully compassionate, and there's several more. And so it really is about creating that leadership culture of integrity, a culture of empowerment that brings out the best in people. And that's what we did for 16 years, and that's what, if I have the opportunity, I'll do again as mayor of this great city.
Thank you. Hannah, you have 60 seconds.
We need to have serious accountability to uphold these standards that we're talking about here. And over the last 20 years, we have seen a serious lack of accountability in our leadership teams. And that includes, again, multiple lawsuits that you've seen that are attacking the character of these appointed positions. Now, when I'm elected mayor, every appointed position is going to be looked at and filled based on the desire to do the job, the knowledge to do the job, the skill set, and have absolutely nothing to do with political affiliation or financial interest or partnership of any sort.
Thank you. Before we get to the next question, just a reminder for the audience, if you do have questions, please go ahead and raise your hand. Volunteers will get you note cards, and when you do fill out those questions, or rather note cards, please make sure that all questions deal directly with both candidates as opposed to one specific candidate versus another. Just a reminder for you at home watching on the Facebook live stream or maybe listening to a radio rebroadcast, this is the Valparaiso mayoral debate between John Costas, the Republican candidate, and Hannah Trueblood, the Democratic candidate. I am Tom Maloney, tonight's moderator. A couple of questions have come in now, and answering first on this will be Hannah. A couple of questions have come in terms of expanding the the access of government. One person asks, what are your plans to make city government inclusive of all demographics? And somebody else follows up with, if you become mayor, what programs or events would you run to cultivate political curiosity and engagement with younger generations in Valparaiso? So I'll kind of combine both questions for you. You've got 60 seconds.
Okay, that's a great couple of questions there. Now, getting actively engaged in your community and in politics is something that I hold very near and dear. Like I said, I've been involved in this for 20 years, so I got started very early in political engagement and community involvement, and will always have and always will be encouraging the next generations to follow suit, because if they're not getting involved, then there's no future. They're the future. Now, when it comes to involving people of all sorts and what kind of events that we would like to work with, one of the most awesome events of the year here in Valparaiso is the World Cultural Festival, which unfortunately wasn't sponsored by the city in the past year. Under my administration, it will be, and we'll be working on building more
Please
events.
hold your applause. Thank you.
More events that are going to be inclusive to all people, not just the people that look like us or sound like us. And I think that was the question.
That's your bell. John,
you go.
you have 60
Yeah, I
seconds.
appreciate that. Government transparency and trust is an important issue. Just to put it in perspective, all city decisions are made in public meetings. All public meetings are broadcast for public viewing. All construction contracts are let by competitive bid. We are carefully audited by the state annually. They check to see where every dollar goes. And of course, I've mentioned there are strict conflict of interest laws, and these are all good. And on top of that, the mayor needs to foster a culture of integrity. And during my 16 years, I did that. That continues to this day. But I think some of the programs that help bring that we're doing that I think are real effective are the Citizens Academy, which Hannah has participated in, which is a really great thing, where citizens come to understand the intricacies of running the government. The Police Citizens Academy, which many of our residents have gone to, and something Mayor Murphy started was the Youth Council. So these are the things that take government to the people and engage them so that they're informed about what's really happening.
Thank you. John, you'll have 60 seconds for this next question.
Sure.
At Thursday's Candidate at Large Forum, current Mayor Matt Murphy stated, quote, many matters are discussed by council and decided prior to the city council meeting, end quote. Is this a violation of open door laws?
Well, it is not when it's done on a one-on-one basis because there has to be discussion to tee up issues, but the decisions are made in public. And so, there has to be due diligence done. So the mayor's staff, sometimes we have information that's confidential as people are looking to invest in the city. And so to think that you can begin the discussion in a city meeting and do all your due diligence in a city meeting, it's just not workable. But decisions are debated in full board meetings and which are, of course, public meetings, and that's when the actual decision is made. Yeah.
Thank you. Hannah, 60 seconds.
Now, whether or not these conversations that Mayor Murphy was referencing are legal or not, that remains to be seen. But what I can say is that we need to be having more places and more opportunities for the citizens and the government to have these conversations. And these one-on-one conversations, of course, that require confidence are a different story. However, at the end of the day, all of the money that is being used in these decision-making processes is our money. And we are the ones that need to be deciding how that money is spent. And we deserve to know at the end of the day, not just what the decision was, but why that decision was made. And that connects directly to civic engagement.
Thank you. Hannah, you'll be answering first on this next question to follow up. If elected mayor, how will you ensure that information is open and accessible to Valparaiso residents?
Great question. So we've got a few different plans in terms of transparency and adding layers of communication for the constituents to City Hall. First being installing a message center in City Hall that will connect directly to the city council to the mayor and to the various board members. And this isn't just some online form that gets lost in the cloud. It'll be an internal system that can be done electronically, but then also have an opportunity for a paper version for those that are not tech savvy. And in addition to this, I would love to change the structure of the city council meetings so that it actually encourages public input and some reasonable public dialogue involving these conversations.
Thank you. John, you have 60 seconds.
So engaging citizens is essential, and when we engage in our strategic planning, we always engage citizens, because having citizen input is essential for making wise decisions. But leaders are elected to lead, and you can't engage everybody in every decision, because there's an awful lot of things to be decided. There's an awful lot of information that is dealt with. And so it's important that they engage with citizens, but also have the courage to lead. I think there's lots of opportunities we can do. I think we can improve. Hannah had some good suggestions here. I think we can improve using technology to communicate better with our citizens. So I think there's some avenues there that we can improve on. But again, leaders are elected to lead, and yes, to keep the constituents informed. And that's what I intend to do if elected. Thank you.
Thank you. John, you'll have 60 seconds on this next question from the audience. If elected mayor, how will you help to expand public transportation in Valparaiso?
Well, I'm pleased to say that I created both the V-Line as well as the Chicago Dash, and took a lot of criticism for that, because those were bold moves, but I thought they were the right things to do. And through effective planning, they've been sustainable and very effective. Occasionally, we have to change routes and things like that, but I think now the Chicago Dash is up to 5 buses again as we've gotten past COVID. So I see these things as really, these modes of transportation as important to citizens, particularly those of lesser means, and I'm fully committed to them. I think we can improve some of the routes and make them more responsive as people and needs change throughout the city.
Hannah, you have 60 seconds.
Yeah, public transportation is really important, because this is something that connects people to the city. And one of the ways that we can improve on that is by taking a look at the V-Line routes and expanding them in a way that make it a lot more functional. Now, we're one of the only cities of this size that has public transportation like the V-Line, but I don't really know of any other cities that have public transportation where the buses just go in a big circle every hour. And when you're dealing with work schedules and growth in the city, we need to be seeing a V-Line that actually serves everyone and is accessible to everyone. And one of the ways that we can do that is, with that sports complex that's tabled for now. When that gets turned into a public park, we need to make sure that the V-Line is expanded to have routes that make it accessible to all generations. Thank you.
Thank you. Answering first on this next question is going to be Hannah. What are your plans to help expand child care in Valparaiso?
Oh, that's a great question.
That's from the audience, not from me, so tell them.
Well, being a mother of 2 children that are in the community school system now, I can attest to the fact that childcare is a big deal. There are parents that are leaving the workforce in droves because of the lack of childcare, and that's not just a local issue. This is a national problem, and we need to be addressing it on a local level. That's how we make big changes in our country, is by starting local. And one of the ways that I'd love to do that is, well, first, partnering with and advocating for different programs like the YMCA. They just did an expansion downtown to add more affordable childcare for people. And there's lots of other opportunities, but one of the main things that I would do as mayor is to advocate downstate and in Washington to our representatives to pass legislation that makes childcare affordable for all people. And that's a thing that a mayor can do. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. John, you have 60 seconds.
Yeah. Certainly is an important issue. The thing is we have to remember that local government is by statute required to do certain things and provide services. We can't solve every problem. We have wonderful nonprofits here. We have private providers who are doing a great job in providing child care. The need is great, and they are expanding their services. Yes, I think the mayor can be an advocate for that and encourage them and help them to do that. But again, we're here to to take care of your streets, to take care of your parks, to keep your city safe, and we need to focus on the things that are really our primary responsibilities and to do them really well. When that happens and the nonprofits and the private providers do their thing, then the community operates very well, and I think that's what's happening right here in Valparaiso.
All right, John, you'll be answering first on this next question. A couple of questions actually have come in on it. As mayor, what is your plan to help homeless individuals in Valparaiso?
Well, homelessness is a growing problem in every community. I was talking to a lady from Elkhart the other day, and she said it's become a real problem in their city, and it's real, and we need to deal with it. I've been working with Mitch Peters from Respite House. The city has donated land. We do need a men's homeless shelter because we don't have one. We have a women's and family homeless shelter, and I think that's the greatest need that we have. We're pretty far along in raising funds for it. Like I said, the city's donated land and money, and we hope to build that next year. And the other thing that we have, again, is a strong nonprofit sector, but to encourage them to continue to not just house, but also to help people have the services to grow out of homelessness and to become productive residents, to get back on their feet. Many of these people have just fallen into a bad place, and they need to get back on their feet, find a job, and then they can live more productive lives and avoid homelessness again.
Thank you. Hannah, you have 60 seconds.
Last year, in the wintertime, I volunteered for the overnight warming shelter that was provided by Living Hope Church because the city didn't have any overnight warming shelters, and in a time where it was multiple degrees below zero, it's just unthinkable to not have somewhere safe to go and warm up at night. And that's just overnight. The people who are experiencing homeless, when they stay at an overnight place like that, they have to go somewhere during the day, and they're pretty much just sent out to do whatever. And as a city, we can do better because, like he said, it's a growing problem, and many people in Valparaiso are one paycheck away from losing their homes. And to admit that and to work towards making housing more affordable for all people, and then also involving these people in our conversations, asking them, how can we help you?
That's your time. Thank you. Hannah, you'll be answering first on this next question from the audience. Bless you as well. Please discuss your education policies and how you plan to continue the success of the Valparaiso school system as mayor. I know it generally applies to the city council because they select the members of the school board, but as mayor, what would you do?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like I said, I've got 2 kids in the school system right now, and so our public school system is very, very important to me. And the way that it runs is very, very important to me. Now, what the mayor can do in terms of education, there's a school board that handles the budget and handles a lot of that, and our what they're taught and all of those. That's a state level issue. But what we can do is we can advocate again downstate for policies that are pro-education, and we're going to be supporting pro-education policies at that level because that trickles down to the local level. Now, in addition to the school board question, although the mayor cannot decide this on their own, I do support an elected school board and would work with members of the community and city council to make that happen, since that seems to be a general consensus in our community as well.
Thank you. John, you have 60 seconds.
Thank you. Yes, kids learn best when they feel safe in school, and the most important thing that we can do is do what we're elected to do, which is keep the schools safe. And so we've expanded our school resource officers in the schools recently, and we will have the full support of the city in making sure that our schools are safe year-round. We have a great process, I think, for choosing school board members. I think it's important that we continue with a good process there. We need to support VU. I have a lot of respect for President Padilla and look forward to partnering with him. And I think more than anything, I think the mayor can be an example of a lifelong learner. I've been a lifelong learner all my life. I was in school 2 years ago finishing a degree because I love to learn. And so just exhibiting that to the students because life is about lifelong learning, and I think students learn by example.
As a former teacher, both of those answers warm my heart. As a former teacher, please keep your cell phones on silent and vibrate. Thank you. We're going to follow up actually on the comment that John made about the Valparaiso University. John, you'll be answering first on this question. A couple of questions actually have come in. What specific actions will you take to ensure that one of Valparaiso's essential elements, Valparaiso University, remains viable and strong? And then what is your view on a city-university cooperation and or partnership? John, you've got 60 seconds.
Well, certainly the health and success of Valparaiso University is very important to the city. I've always had a strong working relationship with them. We've always had a town and gown meeting, but we have worked closely with the university over the years, and I've had conversations with President Padilla. I like his plans. I like the decisions he's making, and I'm excited about the future of Valparaiso University. We know it's hard for independent universities all over. It's difficult because there's less students and more competition for those students. So it's just a matter of staying in close touch with them, supporting their plans, and just having that partnership that helps them find their way to future success.
Thank you. Hannah, 60 seconds.
The university is a key component to the city. I mean, we get people come every year to visit, and they support our lodging, and they support our restaurants, and the students support all the local economy as well. So we absolutely need to be working on a better relationship between the university and the city. And you know, this really ties back to the affordability of the city, because when our college graduates, when the students graduate, they leave because they can't afford to live here. And we don't have enough opportunities here for them today to give them a reason to stay. So I think the most important thing that we can do in terms of building that relationship and maintaining that relationship is ensuring that we have something to offer, which is a great city that has great job opportunities that pay well so that they can afford to live here and then raise their family here.
Just under the bell. Hannah, you'll have 60 seconds for this next question here. Coming from the audience, what is your top priority when it comes to economic development within the city?
I think the number one for economic development is making sure that we keep our economy local by supporting existing small businesses while also incentivizing small businesses to come here and grow, and not just come here and open up shop and close up like we've seen a lot of. I'm talking about getting these small businesses here and setting them up on a path to success, because the small business owners are our homeowners, their kids are going to our schools, they're providing job opportunities. And, you know, I'm not talking about more sub-minimum wage job opportunities. I'm talking about good paying jobs so that they can afford those $330,000 homes. Thank you.
Thank you. John, you have 60
I think Hannah
seconds.
makes a good point at supporting small business. We want to be a city that does that and helps them to grow their business. I think more than anything, you know, it used to be that economic development was about trying to lure companies here, but really it's more about quality of place, because many people can work remotely. And so really what people are looking for is an awesome community to live in and to raise their family in, and their a lot of their jobs can be remote. So that's one of the issues. We have to continue to fashion a city that people love, a growing city, that attracts this kind of worker. Also, we need things like shovel-ready sites. We need to have business parks that are ready when companies want to grow or make a move, and just generally be a city that welcomes business and encourages and is pro-business and encourages opportunity for all.
Thank you. John, you'll be answering first on this next question here. Recently, the city of Valparaiso approved over $7 million in ARPA funds. What are your plans, if elected mayor, for the remaining funds for the city of Valparaiso?
Well, I don't want to jump to conclusions. I have some ideas, but and Hannah made a good point earlier. It's like you want to make sure you get citizen input on where those dollars are best spent. I've set forth my priorities clearly in the Costas 2.0 plan, but at the same time, I don't want to jump to conclusions and say this money should be spent this or that. I have to assess the need, and so I know some of those funds were earmarked for the park. Now that the park's on hold, we may have to rethink that. But one of the things that I think, again, it's the homeless shelter is one of those things, the projects that ARPA funds should be used for because it's addressing a pressing need, and so I would at least funnel some more of those funds to make sure that that project becomes a reality next year.
Thank you. Hannah, you have 60 seconds.
John made a great point in echoing the fact that we need public input when it comes to how these funds are being used. And the unfortunate reality is that we didn't use those funds in the way that the public was hoping to see when we decided to allocate those funds towards the land acquired for that sports complex building that isn't happening anymore. And that just makes a further connection to poor management and the lack of accountability. And when it comes to the ARPA funds that are available now, I believe that we're kind of already in the hole that we dug. We need to finish what we started. We made a promise to bring Valparaiso a park for all generations, and we need to bring Valparaiso a park for generations. Now, the way that we do that, the way that we move forward, that still remains to be seen. But another useful use for the ARPA funds is by supporting these nonprofits that got pennies during the initial disbursement.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hannah, you'll be answering first on the next question, actually a couple of questions from the audience coming in this form of a topic. Please comment on the importance of having dissenting opinions present during policy discussions for the city of Valparaiso. And in this era of division, can you work with others from the opposing party? You have 60 seconds.
Great question. I say that definitely my campaign has been one of the most bipartisan campaigns that I have been a part of. I was actually endorsed by Art Elwood, who ran as a Republican in the primary, and I think that speaks volumes about the fact that local politics is less, or well, should be less about political affiliation and more about your values, more about your vision, and more about what you're willing to do for your neighbor. Now, when it comes to bipartisan support, of course, this isn't a red city, this isn't a blue city, this is a purple city. And one of the things that I do very well in my job is bring two people that are seemingly at odds, a buyer and a seller, together for the common goal of exchanging property. And that's exactly what I intend to do as mayor, working with people of all different ideas and persuasions. Because we all know that when decisions are made with diverse perspectives, we see better results.
That's your time. John, you have 60 seconds.
Thank you. You know, we do live in an incredibly divisive time. A lot of that is the result of national politics and the national media and algorithms. And it's very important for the next mayor to be able to be a bridge and to reach out to leaders from the other party, to reach out to leaders in other sectors, to be a bridge builder. And I did that for 16 years. I am a collaborative leader. I am someone who forges strong relationships of trust. I've been doing that for the last nine months in anticipation of this election, and will certainly bring that sense of unity, that sense of civic trust that has made Valparaiso strong over these many years.
Thank you. John, you'll be answering first on this next question. And folks, just a reminder, we'll be wrapping up pretty soon. We started about 7:05. We'll try to go ahead and wrap up about 8:05. Again, I know it's a school night and a work night for a lot of us, so I'll try to get you out in a neat and orderly fashion. John, if elected mayor, what will you do to support small businesses and mom and pop shops that don't have millions of dollars to strive in the city?
Well, I think the first thing you can do is to create sustainable commercial areas. And I mean, when you bring people, they are customers. And so we built a downtown that brings customers and attracts customers and guests from all over Northwest Indiana. And so we need to continue to create that type of culture in the city. I think just getting to know, the business owners, what are their needs, how can we support them? One of the things we do really well is events. I mean, we have an awful lot of events that brings people to the downtown and to all areas of the city. So we'll continue to do what we are elected to do and do well, which is to attract visitors, to also have a pro-business culture within the city that encourages and helps our current businesses to grow, because most of your jobs will come from the growth of current businesses.
Hannah, you have 60 seconds.
Yeah, like I said, the small business is the cornerstone to our economy. And so, of course, this is an important thing that we need to prioritize and make sure that we do this right. And the way that I plan on doing that is there's a few different things. First, I'm going to simplify some city grant programs that we can do to incentivize and help some of these small business owners get started. Also, working with commercial property owners and developers with tax incentivized districts, and actually utilize these TIFs in the way that they were meant to be used in the first place, which is to spur the investment in the reconstruction of neglected parts of our city. It's not all about the downtown. There are lots of other areas like the north side, which used to be so coveted and now is starting to it could use some love. And there are, other things that we can do, further our partnership with the Chamber of Commerce and other business mentoring groups like the SCORE that we have.
Thank you. A couple of questions have come in, ironically enough. One right as I was about to read the other, which I like when that happens. Great minds think alike. What are your ideas for making downtown businesses and sidewalks more accessible to those using walkers and wheelchairs, as well as other disabilities? You have 60 seconds, Hannah.
Great. Well, the first thing is that we need to revive the Valpo Next plans that involved expanding our sidewalks to make them more accessible for pedestrians. And that's really the main thing, is that there is, we've done a lot of development and we've done a lot to help with our traffic flow, but we haven't really done a lot to address pedestrian flow. And this ties directly into pedestrian safety, because I see a lot of people, in the summertime with a wheelchair or with a stroller, or even just when you're in more than just yourself and you have to walk around the trees and you have to walk around the outside patios. And we need to find a way that the businesses can still utilize the outside for outdoor dining while also prioritizing those pedestrians and making sure that they're getting around safely.
Thank you. John, you have 60 seconds.
Yeah, I agree this is an issue, and we need to reconfigure some of our sidewalks to allow for better pedestrian flow. Again, the problem is we've got pedestrians downtown, and that's a good thing. And we've got more and more activity in the downtown, so we need to revisit the flow, and as well as our reconfigure some of our sidewalks and our parking. The other thing is this, when I took over, there were very few pathways in the city, and we've built miles and miles of pathways. Pathways keep us connected, they keep us active, and so they're really linear parks. And so we want pathways. We've got some missing links that we need to connect, and we want pathways so everybody can ride their bike to the downtown, everybody can ride their bike to the park. And as mayor, I would add more revenues to build more pathways because they connect us and to each other and to our special places in the city.
Just in time. All right, for those of you who have tuned into debates before, you know I love this question. Got it just a few months ago, actually, at the GOP primary for the Portage mayoral debate, and I've since used it for every single debate since. This is the 5th debate now that I'll have used this question. It's a fan favorite, trust me. John, you'll be answering first. What is something about the opposing candidate that would make them a good fit for mayor of Valparaiso? You can applaud me now if you want. Thank you. John, you have 60 seconds.
Hannah is genuine. She's an authentic person. She's true to her beliefs, and she's not trying to be something she's not. And I think that's important, and I respect that in her.
Thank you. Hannah, please hold your applause. Not you, Hannah, because you're not clapping. The audience is clapping. Hannah, you have 60 seconds.
I'm going to use 58 seconds to think. I think that John brings a lot of great qualities to the table that, you know, not your average person has. A lot of business experience that the average person doesn't have. A lot of relationships that not the average person has. And in the past, the city has utilized that a lot, and whether that's a good thing or not, I will leave that to the audience to decide.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hannah, you'll be answering first on this question. And just a reminder, we still have closing statements. This will be the final question of the evening. We've talked tonight about a lot of the problems and the issues in the city of Valparaiso and how you would work to solve them during your term as mayor. Now, I want to know, what is the best thing about the city of Valpo that makes you not only want to run for mayor, but to continue to live here and continue raising your family here?
I think the best thing about this city is how, even though we're growing, it still feels like a small town. And, you know, I've always said that if I'm going to live in Indiana, I'm living in Valparaiso, and I'm certainly going to be raising my family here. And that's because of a lot of the things that we've discussed, the safe schools and the great education that we can obtain and the things to do in the parks and all of that. And that's exactly why I'm running for mayor, because all of these things are great. They're so great, but they're not going to be great for much longer if we don't take a look at some of the issues and take a look at the foundation that all of this has been laid on. The foundation is crumbling, metaphorically and literally, physically. And if we don't solidify that foundation in a way that makes it truly sustainable, all of that, the whole bottom is going to fall out. And, yeah.
There you go. The bottom fell out on that one. John, you have 60 seconds.
I've got to disagree with that. This is a strong city, and it's got tremendous resources. I often talk about the 5 pillars of a community: the business sector, the nonprofit sector, the government sector, the education sector, and the faith community. If all 5 of those sectors are strong, a community is strong. And if you look at all those sectors in our community, they are strong, and they have excellent leadership. And that's what makes our community strong. We've got a great future. We've had a great run, and I'm bullish on the future. And I'm bullish on the leaders in this community. And I am a bridge builder, and I'll make sure that those sectors work together to reach even greater things in the future.
And just a reminder, folks, early voting begins on October 23rd. I still have a stack of note cards that we were just running out of time to go ahead and ask. Candidates are both available and active on social media. If there's a question that didn't come up this evening that you wanted to discuss with them, I ask that if you can't reach out with them and talk with them this evening, that you reach out to their campaigns as well to find out more about that. Also, vote411.org is the website where you can not only find out information about these 2 candidates, but about your city council races as well and other local municipal races that you might be interested in to find out how those candidates view the topics that are important to you. That being said, we now have 60 seconds for closing statements following the coin flip earlier this evening in which in which John went first for his opening statement, Hannah went second. Hannah will now go first for her closing statement, followed by John's 60 seconds. And again, I ask that you please hold your applause until both candidates are done with their closing statements this evening. Hannah, you have 60 seconds.
Great. Well, I know it's hard to make a decision off of just 1 hour of back and forth, so I strongly urge everybody to do your research, look into both of us, and vote your values. Vote for the person who aligns with your values for what you believe is right. And, you know, I ran for mayor because I wanted to give people an option that reflects the community that we love. And, you know, this country was founded on people with the notion that normal everyday people are the ones who are supposed to run it. And that's exactly what I am. I am a normal everyday person that is committed to service. I have 20 years backing that statement, and I plan to have a lifetime more of that. And when I am serving you as your mayor, you can guarantee that I am going to be accessible, and we're going to make the city accessible. We're going to be transparent. We're going to hold everybody to a higher standard so that we can all have a bright future in the city of Valparaiso. Thank you.
John, you have 60 seconds for your closing statement.
Friends, city elections are perhaps the most important voting decisions you make. That's because the city provides vital services that affect your lives on a daily basis. We rely on the city for clean water, ambulance service, road maintenance, safe neighborhoods, pathways, beautiful parks, and so much more. The next mayor must do two things well for Valpo to stay awesome. First, he or she needs to know how to effectively manage a complex organization that employs over 250 people with a budget of $75 million annually. And second, they need to keep our city united and positive amidst today's divisive rhetoric. There are two candidates here tonight who both love their city and want to be your mayor, but there's only one candidate before you who has the proven leadership experience, who has led this city with unity and integrity, and who has a clear plan going forward. I ask for your vote today, and in turn, promise you results, responsiveness, and servant leadership.
Thank you. And just a reminder, folks, as you exit tonight, there are voting materials available by the door. Thank you to all of you for joining us this evening at the Valparaiso Memorial Opera House, and thank you to both candidates, Hannah Trueblood and John Costas. I'm Tom Maloney. Thank you for viewing tonight's live debate on Facebook.